Hey everyone, this is the movie Pathfinder. Enjoy the show. About 600 years before Columbus, North America was repeatedly raided by Vikings, seeking to settle along its shores. However, according to an ancient legend, something stood in the way of their success. One day, while spending time in the forest, a woman from a Native American tribe spotted a strange horse. According to prophecy, her people would face great and sudden change the moment a beautiful white creature appeared on their land. The horse led her to an abandoned Viking ship, where, among the wreckage, she found a frightened young boy. It was clear that a brutal massacre had taken place there not long before, and the woman could not leave the child to freeze among the dead. Later, after heated debate, the tribal council allowed the boy to stay, giving him a new name, Ghost. The chief and his wife chose to take him in as their own and raise him as a son. And so, the boy found a new home after his former father, a Viking chieftain, had cast him out for showing weakness on the battlefield. 15 years later, a chieftain known as Pathfinder arrives at the village to choose a new successor from among the young men. During a winter hunt, an avalanche claimed the life of the one who was meant to take his place. So now Pathfinder will oversee the rite of passage, initiating the youths into warriors and selecting a new candidate. Spotting Ghost in the distance, whose appearance was unlike that of the others, Pathfinder casts his divination stones and, with a cryptic air, declares that the prophecy will soon be fulfilled. That night, Ghost wishes to take part in the initiation alongside everyone else. But Pathfinder drives him away from the ceremony, saying that such an honor must still be earned by an outsider like him. To understand who he truly is, Ghost must first confront the demons of his past. Hurt by the rejection, he goes to the lake to continue training with his sword and to reflect on his own path. The next morning, Pathfinder and his people leave the village. Ghost watches them from afar and notices among them the chieftain's daughter, Starfire, the most beautiful woman he has ever seen. Soon after, seeking his own path, Ghost sets out on a hunting journey, promising his parents that he will return once he has found himself. While he was away, Vikings attacked the village, slaughtering everyone in their path. Hearing the sound of a war horn, a worried Ghost rushed back. But by the time he reached the village, the screams had already fallen silent. The homes had been burned to the ground, and the bodies of the tribe's people and animals were piled together. Among them, Ghost saw the body of the woman who had once shown him mercy and taken him into her family. A sudden noise pulls the hero from his dark thoughts. Nearby, the Vikings have made a game of it, forcing his adoptive father to fight for his life. He is clearly at a disadvantage, and Ghost tries to save him, but it's too late. One of the Vikings executes his father right before his eyes. Then, noticing Ghost, they order a sword to be given to him, so he can defend himself and face them in combat before being killed as well. Unlike the tribesmen, however, Ghost knows how to use a sword, and before escaping, he even manages to take out one of the Vikings' eyes. Enraged, the raiders give chase to the strange savage, astonished that he somehow knows their fighting techniques. But none of them know these forests the way Ghost does. He sets an ambush, hiding in the water, and kills two lost brutes. Taking their horse, Ghost rides toward the mountain where his camp lies, but more Vikings catch up to him there. Realizing he has no other choice, the young man jumps onto a shield and slides down the snowy slope. The pursuit continues, and one of the archers manages to wound him in the back before he falls from a high cliff into the water. Believing that no one could survive such a fall, the Vikings leave, while the wounded Ghost crawls onto a rocky shore. That same night, the Viking leader, learning that Ghost's body was not found, expresses hope that the savage survived and will lead them to the next settlement. But his words enrage the fighter who lost an eye to Ghost. Now he thirsts for revenge, not only against him but against all the tribe's people. The next day, after several exhausting hours on the road, Ghost is completely worn out. He manages to find a cave where he can rest, but at the same time, Pathfinder's warriors, returning from a hunt, pick up his trail. Shortly after, they find Ghost weakened from blood loss and come face to face with an aggressive bear, angered by the intruders in its den. After killing the predator, they carry the unconscious Ghost back to the village, where the shaman tends to his wound and removes an arrowhead from his body. Starfire stays by his side all night, praying for him to regain consciousness. In the morning, the entire tribe gathers before the chief to decide what to do next. Some are convinced that Ghost will bring disaster upon them, but the majority intend to stay and fight the barbarians. At that moment, Ghost, now feeling stronger, explains to his fellow tribesmen that their spears and arrows are nothing compared to steel, and that it would be wiser to flee. The tribe realized they had no chance against the heavily armed Vikings and hurried to gather their belongings to flee to the bay. Ghost decided to face the enemies alone in the canyon, where all the trails converge, planning to kill as many as he could. But one of the tribesmen, Jester, followed him. And no matter how hard Ghost tried to drive him away, the silent boy stubbornly kept following. He desperately wanted a steel sword like Ghost's, so that his fellow tribesmen, who had never taken him seriously, would finally acknowledge him. Meanwhile, the Vikings tracked Ghost's trail, already passing the cave where he had recently hidden. While Ghost and Jester prepared an ambush, Blackwing Pathfinder's favorite and future successor noticed that Starfire was missing. It was clear she had gone after Ghost, putting herself in mortal danger. Blackwing loved her and could not leave things as they were. He immediately changed his plans and followed her, intending to bring the head of the Viking leader to Pathfinder. Starfire finds Ghost and confesses her love to him, and they spend the night together. A few hours later, the sound of a war horn warns them of approaching enemies. Ghost puts his plan into action, and together with Jester and Starfire, takes out the attackers one by one, driving them into various traps. After dealing with several brutes this way, Ghost changes tactics and leads the group of Vikings toward a pre-prepared pit with stakes. Suddenly, Blackwing and his brothers appear on the battlefield and fall into the trap. The Vikings mercilessly finish off the wounded, and Ghost grabs Blackwing and retreats to the cave, where Starfire and Silent One are already waiting. Because of the pursuers, the heroes are forced to split up. The wounded Blackwing asks Ghost to find and protect Starfire, while he stays behind with his bow and arrows to buy him time. At one point, Starfire is captured by an enemy, but Silent One saves her at the cost of his own life. The boy dies in Ghost's arms, never having received the sword he had so longed for. Later, Ghost finds Starfire, and together they quietly leave the cave. Suddenly, a desperate scream from Blackwing catches their attention. The Viking leader, Gunnar, has tied the brave young tribesman above a fire, intending to burn him slowly and painfully. But suddenly, Pathfinder appears behind Ghost, coming to save his daughter, and grants Blackwing a merciful death by shooting an arrow into his heart. The Vikings immediately spot the heroes and charge into battle. Outnumbered, the resistance is quickly crushed. Gunnar captures the survivors and tries to force them to reveal the location of the nearest tribal settlement. Pathfinder refuses to answer. In response, the Viking executes him by tying him to horses, which tear his body apart. Afterward, Gunnar tells Ghost that he knew his father, as well as the story of the boy who went missing in these lands many years ago. Then, seeking to get his way, he orders Starfire's arm to be cut off. To save her, Ghost reluctantly agrees to lead them to the village. During the march, Ghost quietly tells Starfire that he remembers how the lands of the barbarians are locked in endless winter, yet they have never known their spring. In this way, he subtly warns his beloved that he already has a plan. A heavy rain begins, and Ghost points Gunnar toward the mountains, saying that's where they will find the tribes. To convince him to leave the shore and move west, the hero deliberately drops a doll in that direction, a doll he had previously picked up in the settlement. By nightfall, the Vikings reach a high-altitude lake, its surface frozen over. Ghost warns Gunnar that they should go around it, because the ice is unstable. But the one-eyed Viking, enraged at his injury caused by Ghost, insists they are not cowards, and forces the young man to go first. As expected, the ice cracks, and part of Gunnar's men fall into the water and begin to sink. Ghost also ends up in the water. Struggling to survive, he suddenly sees Pathfinder before him, who tells him that he is on the right path and must now seek a higher purpose than hatred. The vision vanishes abruptly, and Ghost, regaining consciousness, surfaces. He continues leading the Vikings in the wrong direction, farther from the bay where the tribes have gone. He brings them to a mountaintop and suggests tying themselves together to safely cross a narrow ledge over a cliff. Gunnar begins to hesitate, and Ghost points to the bay in the distance, where the bright lights of tribal fires are visible along the shore. At that moment, he asks Starfire to strike him, pretending that she is angry at him for his betrayal. She does as he asked, and Gunnar then challenges Ghost to prove he is truly a Viking's son, untying Starfire so the hero could hit her. Instead, Ghost throws a rock at the farthest Viking standing on the cliff's edge. He falls, pulling the others down with him. Enraged, Gunnar attacks Starfire, but Ghost shields her. When it's Gunnar's turn to fall, he chooses to cut the rope, tying him to his men. On the other end remains only Ghost, who is also bound and suspended over the abyss with Gunnar, the rope caught on a tree. After urging Starfire to flee to the settlement, Ghost trades a few blows with Gunnar, who then starts to climb back up. Once at the top, Gunnar hurls rocks at Ghost, but Ghost has no intention of climbing. Instead, he lets out a loud cry, triggering an avalanche. Tons of snow and rocks cascade down the mountain. Yet Gunnar somehow survives and attacks Ghost as he approaches. During the final confrontation, Gunnar accuses Ghost of betraying his people, to which the hero replies that he has never betrayed his true people, then throws the barbarian off the cliff. The film concludes with a wounded Ghost returning to the village and giving Starfire her father's necklace. Starfire becomes the new Pathfinder, and the tribe bows before her. Later, she and Ghost have children, and he takes his place as the guardian of the tribe and their lands. And here awaits even more stories. Subscribe, because it gets even more exciting. See you soon.